Welcome to So Guided, a spiritual travel guide for the curious.
Join us as we dive into the mystical, high-vibe ways we can connect to the universe and ourselves. We are trying anything and everything woo-woo. Whatever the result, mind-blowing, unbelievable, or hilarious, we promise to share in truth.
Ready to explore? Suspend disbelief and let's discover the mysterious together. Hello and welcome to another episode of So Guided. Today we're going back to a trip Chris and I took on a spiritual retreat, and we went to see a channeler. We had no idea what we were getting into. Was it a medium? Nope. She was channeling a higher consciousness. We could ask any question we wanted and got an answer. It was wild, so cool. Stay tuned. You got questions? So do we. Let's do this.
Hi.
I love where we are right now.
I do too. We are sitting on the most comfy bed.
It's a cloud. It's a cocoon cloud.
It's a cloud. And we have been at Miraval all weekend doing spiritual stuff to tell you guys and talk to you guys about it. And what we are about to do is something we've never done before.
Yeah, we're going to do a channeling session. To make it even cooler, we could see the building we're about to go to. It's a yurt.
Yeah,
it's a round yurt. And all we know is a channeling session. I had this woman yesterday for a brief minute for an intro to channeling, which was one of the ones that was just quickie-dicky, like introductory kind of thing. And she didn't get into it much, but I'm under the impression that she might be channeling like someone from another like dimension. And I don't know, because channeling, that word, I actually confused it with medium before I sat with her yesterday. And I was like, oh, channeling is when you get divine messages. So we need the definition. Like, we're going in kind of so green about this subject that we're not even sure we could give you the definition. Like, what do you think's about to happen?
Well, I had thought it was going to be like mediumship too, where she was going to like talk to
originally.
Like, she was going to talk to past loved ones. But since you went to that intro yesterday, which I wasn't at, and you came back and you mentioned to me that this woman told you, who's going to be leading this class, that channeling is anything where you get messaging. So oracle cards can help you channel. The pendulum can help you channel, which I had never thought of it like that.
Me either.
So I'm very interested. During this before, I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I'm excited because this is a group thing. So there's going to be a lot of other people there. And I'm excited to see how where she takes us. And if we're going to get our own messages, if she's just going to channel it for the group and then tell us what she sees.
Exactly.
I don't know her backstory. Did she tell you anything about like how she's like this expert, like what her deal is?
Not at all. So we are like just going in clean. So remember, I had a funny experience before this little class. And like I said, it was just a brief one. There was a discrepancy on where they printed where we should all meet.
Yeah.
So a group of women who were in it, where we were together in our space, and it was like started 20 minutes late. And we were actually together. It was actually really cool. It's my little quick woo-woo of it, is that these women were sitting together instead of like sitting in quiet and contemplation like usually happens. Everyone started talking and telling stories. And a lot of these women aren't here for strictly woo-woo. You and I are the only weirdos that come for that, by the way. There's a spa, it's sporty.
We're like,
we are the ones who like give us, make us high.
Yeah, we're not wasting our money unless I'm connecting with the universe.
Nope, I want a direct connection, please. That's why I'm here. So they were lighter on the spectrum of involvement. So each person was kind of like, everyone introduced himself as if we were already in the group, which was so cool. Anyway, there was one woman who said, I can't believe your name, to the person next to her that introduced herself. She said, my daughter and her husband are trying to get pregnant, and they are not pregnant and they do not have a baby, but they already know they're having a girl and her name is Nora. And the reason they know that is they both had a dream on the very same night and woke up simultaneously and had a dream that they met their future daughter, Nora, and they both got the same name. Well, the really cool part of the story is the woman next to her was Nora, who was also, when we introduce ourselves, involved with like birthing and womb healing and birthing. So just really cool. So then this group of ladies, finally they figure out that like we were kind of sent down the wrong hallway. We get to the yurt And I think I missed half of the intro session because they had to make up for it. So this group of women just started talking, and it was more of a cool little session. So I didn't end up coming home to you to say like, oh, I have all the dirt before we go tomorrow. But instead, a cool moment happened. I also saw that the yurt's real cool, and I can't wait to sit in it. Coziest chairs of the trip so far.
Right.
But what I did hear briefly was she had mentioned that she channels a certain entity. And so now I'm super excited. Like, is that going to happen? But then when she mentioned that you're channeling when you pull a tarot card or when you journal and do automatic writing, that's all channeling. It's receiving a message. So I don't know if she's going to channel and we're going to hear her speak from another, like whoever she connects with, or if she's eliciting us to connect. Whatever it is, can't wait.
Well, that's interesting because your weekly, like your woo-woo that you just shared, that's considered channeling.
A dream could be a channel message.
A dream could be a channel message,
so, like,
right?
what is that exact definition? Let's figure it out.
Yeah, and the fact that they just shared that in like a very quick, like people don't usually share that stuff, as we know. Like unless you're talking about it, people are pretty close about those type of interactions and dreams and stuff. So that could be channeling too.
Totally.
So I'm ready. I'm ready to get some divine messaging, however it comes through. And I'm sure we'll have some good stories from the other people within this session. Right. So more to come.
This is a hot off the press one because we're literally in a bed right now talking about this, and we're like, gotta run down the hall. So catch you on the after. Let's go. We gotta run. Get your shoes on.
So we are now sitting in the car after our channeling session, and oh my God.
Blew our minds.
Brain
blowing emoji all over the place right now. Like,
I cannot wait to tell you guys about this. We cannot wait. So nothing what we thought. So almost like disregard our first 5 minutes, but not really. So basically, we'll set the scene. There was us and 3 other people. So there was 5 people joining, and then the woman who came to lead the session. And when she got there, she was super kind, super nice, had a great energy, right? Like very, very just kind. And honestly, she is like all of a sudden jumped right in.
Yeah.
To, okay, we're going to be channeling. And I was a little bit like, wait, what's happening? Like, I thought we were going to get some information, a precursor of like what was happening. And she ended up taking a step back and basically sharing that she connects to a collective called Ommara. And this collective basically takes over her body and shares messages through her. And she warned us that like my voice is going to change, my face is going to change, and I'm going to be able to answer questions for each of you. She set it up that what kind of questions, if you can ask basically any question.
She said it could be generic, and if you ask like deep stuff about life, they're going to answer generically, but you could get really granular and specific too.
Yes.
Right? Down to like, what's wrong with my hips and how do I fix it?
Yeah. She said the most common questions when talking to the collective are like, you know, about family. So should I stay with my husband? Or like, is like, what can I do to be a better mother? Or career was the second one. So like, you know, what career path, what should I do? And then the third that she gets the most is around health. So health ailments, or like how to like fix something. So those were like sort of the top line things that she said when we were all like, do you guys need help thinking of questions? And all of us were blank faced, like what? Because I don't think any of us knew what was about to happen. Like that she was going to be channeling. I certainly, when she said that, that's not what I thought at all.
No, we kind of like met eyes like, oh, this is going to be good though.
Right. Well, I think my eyes to you were more like, what did we get ourselves in for? Because if you remember, when she all of a sudden she was going to channel through us, I remember we went to somebody who did the same thing.
Yeah, and you didn't even remember because you were so not enchanted by the last lady. Yeah, so this is wild. So we actually were saying we've never done anything like this, and that's a complete falsity. We stuffed this story down, but we went to someone who was supposed to channel your spirit guide, and that, like, we talked about it last season, actually, and it wasn't a full episode. It was just like, we went to someone, and both of us didn't believe in her. So now to, like, give further validation to this moment, we actually went to someone, and we're like, oh, hell no, this is not real. But with this one, and I can't distinguish them enough differently, there was a knowing in my body, in my soul, in the energy of the room that this was for reals.
Yes.
And like, so comparatively, it places a higher value on like what we're about to share.
1,000,000%. And I feel like that's like, you guys know how critical we are. And like, we're always like making sure that like we believe what we say, and we're trying to figure out like what we do believe. And as we're like on this journey, we're really just trying to learn. And we feel like we've been skeptical and gotten some people that we don't buy into.
Yes.
But this lady, oh my God.
Real deal.
When people deserve credit, we give them the credit they deserve. And she was something special. She was somehow channeling. She was channeling from another dimension.
She was.
And apparently she shared that she's been channeling this collective. And do you have a good explanation of like what a collective is to you?
A little bit. So if you've ever heard of Abraham Hicks, she's doing the same thing. So it's a group of entities. And sometimes it's entities that once took human form. And she said hers did. At one point, they were humans and now they're evolved beings. And they come together because in this dimension, they're not solo. They've recombined. It's the drop of the ocean returning to the water. So that's kind of how I see it. So it's like a collective energy of souls giving information. She said it's very love. It's like love incarnated and warm. And that's the collective. So a lot of people who do these channelings give a name to it, but it really is a group of energy or thoughts.
Right. Because she kept calling Ommara they.
Yes.
So it wasn't like one person. The pronoun was they because it is this like group. Right. And I love that. I love that you reminded me that like they had been in human form at one point and then evolved. So they've been in our shoes per se. And so they're helpful with the information and what they can do. Right. So another thing I thought was like that she was going to like channel potentially like past loved ones. Yeah. And while that wasn't the overall messaging, she said that if that's something that was important to you, you could ask that.
Right.
So the first woman that went actually asked about her mother, and the collective then went like to find her mom.
Right. They went and said, let us go find them. Now, let's back that up though, before she got into this. How excited were you when you suddenly found out? So this is the other thing. It wasn't like a generic free-for-all of like, I'm going to tap in, let's see what goes.
Oh my God.
There was supposed to be 6 of us, and there was 5 that showed up in the class, and they keep it small on purpose. And you each have the floor for 10 minutes to ask questions. So everyone, so the minute I found out that this wasn't generic, I got even more excited. But then I'll be honest, guys, if you are told that you're going to be put in direct contact with the higher being, you have a question to ask. I felt immense pressure of like,
so much pressure.
Do I ask about my children who I'm worried about? Do I ask about my career? Do I ask about my relationship with mom? What do I ask about?
It was, the pressure was insurmountable.
Real.
It was like legit. Well, and I will say, as somebody who's like super like justice and fair, the fact that she timed each person made me so happy. So we started off where I felt like, okay, I'm going to get my due time. Because if anyone's ever been in a medium or a group setting and you have somebody who basically like cannibalizes the time, I go so crazy inside. So knowing that like everybody was going to get their fair share and like have their question, it was awesome. So she had a little timer. So everyone got like the 9 to 10 minutes.
We had to do it because she checked out. She basically said, I'm leaving. So she handed the phone before she checks out, and you pass it to the person next to you because she's left the building. And that's a big part before we talk what happened, right? So this is on us to time it. So the people in the group have to take turns timing the person next to him because she's gone.
Right.
And that is how she starts. So she kind of talks to us and like, here, you know, the kind of questions you can ask, answered some of her questions. She's like, I'm about to leave now.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the things that we didn't understand, like what she was going to do.
What does that mean?
No, what is it? She's like, when she said her voice was going to change. So essentially, because she didn't give us any other information, right? Nope. I still felt like we were kind of left a little bit like what was going to happen. Yeah. It wasn't like, okay, I know exactly what this collective is. Like it was very broad. She was going to channel. And so we jumped right into it. And it took her probably at least a good minute. In a minute when you're sitting in a very small circle, because we were all on the ground in a small circle, Crystal in the middle. Like we were very close together on these comfy chairs. And she closed her eyes, and you could see her just like closing her eyes and almost like thinking, or like her eye, you know, you could see like her eyes fluttering even though they were closed. We were all kind of looking at each other. And then you could feel a shift in the energy in the room. All of a sudden, my heart was racing like I was gonna have a freaking heart attack. If we're being honest, like it wasn't like this is nice. I was like, I had full goosebumps, and like my heart was legit like beating crazy.
Yeah, I had the feeling of like, oh, they've arrived.
Yeah.
And we both had the same feeling. I had thought, ooh, do I get warm fuzzies? I will admit, it was almost like, I was almost like hit of adrenaline.
It was intense. It wasn't like, oh, it was intense. It was like an intense, like, I'm like, whoa. And I was telling Jenny afterwards, like, I move around a lot. Like, if I'm sitting on the floor, I'm like moving my body. I'm like trying to get comfy the whole time. And I'm always like, kind of like, oh, like my leg hurts, whatever, I gotta move. That entire time we were in there, I did not move a muscle. So not only was the energy intense, it almost was like, it was in a weird way comforting because I was so in the energy. I didn't think about like my body or moving. I just felt like frozen in time, but like connected to this collective. And as she started talking, like I said, the first lady asked the question about her mom. And so she was able, the collective basically, Ommara, basically took some time and you could see her like scanning, I don't know, scanning creation, scanning the universe. I don't even know what she was doing, but looking for the mom.
So when she's looking, her eyes are closed. And I will have to say this. What was peaceful, I don't like when someone's putting on a front in front of me. So like when she switched over, I was like, ooh, how am I going to process her talking in another like in another voice? And it weirdly felt organic and normal. And then when what you're explaining, like, I wish I could like just show a video of it. Her eyes are closed. You almost could see rapid fire. I don't even know how to explain, but something was happening and it wasn't weird at the moment.
No, it wasn't.
Nothing made me unsettled, but they were like scanning the Akashic records, it felt like, or the multi-universe, the Matrix.
Yeah.
Where'd she go? But she was like, I'll find her now.
Yeah, and her voice, and she had kind of told us beforehand that her voice was going to change, and people had described it to her because she had said she doesn't really hear it because she's not, she's like away from it, and she had described it at one point that she's like a version of herself sitting on her shoulder while they take over, and now she says as she's evolved this, she's actually in like another room or farther on the couch, so she's gotten even farther from it, but as she's gotten farther from being present as a human, she's gotten more and more information. And so she had described it as like talking like an old Russian woman. And then another woman had to say like, oh, she sounds like my like Jewish grandmother. So it had like a very different voice. And she was just like a person from Vermont, like very regular voice, like not like, like no accent that was like discernible. Just, and then so when she went to this, her voice not only changed, but her face, she looked different. And she didn't budge from that face or that voice. And it didn't seem fake. And I'm remembering back to that other channeling that we did. And there was like catchphrases that were like turn offy.
Yes. There were catchphrases.
Well, like there was like catchphrases that seemed like hokey. There was none of that.
No
There was like a hokiness to it that I was like, this is BS, but not here. Not here. It was like.
This was real deal. I think we've set the stage, guys. Real deal.
Real deal. So the first lady talked about like her mother, and her mother came through and basically gave some advice about her daughter. And this lady was brave because she was the first one to go. And like nobody knew where to go from there. And so I give her a ton of credit. And it was, you know, we actually touched base with her afterwards. And she was, I think, happy, but also kind of like where we are in our journey, where she was a little bit skeptical because apparently she had told the lady about her daughter the day before. So she said to us that she actually got a little bit more from everyone else who went after her and started believing more. She's like, I totally believe it. She's like, but since she went first and she didn't know what direction. So that was the first lady. Jenny got to go second. So I feel like this is like this was awesome. So why don't you kind of share?
I might it's weird. I know this is weird, but I think because we're talking about it so soon, I might need you to like actually weirdly interject in my story. Of course. Because I don't know that what I remembered all the way. Because like you heard things I didn't. So here's the big one. All right, I asked you guys, like, what's your question going to be? What's your question? That's, like, so hard.
So much pressure.
So I'm definitely at a crossroads. I'm finishing up wild work projects, and I have the ability to build my schedule how I want it. In my heart and soul, I really want it to be aligned with my spirit. And is that podcast? Is it that I should write a book? Is it any, like, and what modality should I choose? This is kind of my questions. I don't remember how I worded it, but it was something like, what should I do with career? And which of these things are the one I should pursue?
Yeah, but like your soul's like best, like your soul's journey. It was around your soul's journey. And to become a light worker. You did mention that you wanted to become, I said, I want to like move towards being like a light worker and bringing like so that was,
I did.
Yeah.
Wow, I totally forgot that.
See, I need you.
I need you. I honestly, our minds are so blown by it on multiple levels, and then watching the other people after me makes it harder to remember everything. And it's it's a lot. It's a lot to process, honestly.
And one of the questions that we asked prior, not to go back, but we asked her specifically, like, when they come through and you ask a question, is the question specifically to you or is it like a generic answer? And she did say, she's like, the question is so specific to you and your soul. However, because there's a higher collective and even the little group that you're in creates its own like consciousness.
And it was real.
And like that you can take things from other messages. And some messages that are meant for that person will resonate with you. And so if it does, that's great. And that's because it's higher. And so I thought that was neat. So it was like you could take little things from each person's, but this was, and yours was a really good question. But yeah, you talked about the light worker. So she jumped right in.
Okay, so she jumps right in. And this is one of those things where you, like, I was doing the thing you do where you like will whatever this collective, I'm like, tell them what I want to say. Say it's the podcast. Tell them to quit my job. It's the podcast, you know? And or like tell me to like focus in on learning tarot or something. I wanted something like that. And what's so funny is she told me modalities and I was shocked that I got specifics. I thought that was so cool. So she told me to start working with plants. Was I interested in basically tinctures and plant medicine and said if I pursued that, I could talk to plants, hear plants. Remember she said they'd start talking to you, which we kind of have a side note story that I won't go into, but one of our favorite light worker, wonderful healers is very into this stuff. So it actually, I don't relate to plants as much as I think I would, but she makes me honestly. So she said that. And I, you know, you and I not talked that much. We went and ate food and then got in the car. So we haven't talked about this that much. So I didn't share with you that I've been really drawn to gardening. Like I feel almost a soul calling, but not, I didn't think it was woo-woo or spiritual. Like I'm going to go make plant medicine here. But when I had done like a goal setting a year ago, like before I moved out of my house, what kept coming up was to tend the earth, to like garden my yard. And like people were like, should do, you know, what do you want to do with it? Like all I can envision is like having my hands in the earth and being one with the dirt. Like it's something like I almost feel like it's a date with my future self. I know so I'm going to be a gardener. I've just known this. And like there's garden clubs in our town and they're generally for a different generation, except for a handful of others. And I like literally, I don't know how I know this, guys. I'm a black thumb, but I know I'm going to do it one day. So when they said it, even though it wasn't like what I wanted her to say, I wanted her to say, you could become a medium or something, you know, you want the flashy answer. I was like, wow, I really, really could feel that. And then one of my other things with the plant thing and the trees and all that is that where I used to meditate in my house in Willigan, there's a giant oak tree and I can't see anything but this oak tree. And I'd say half of my meditations, I end up becoming one with this oak tree.
Ooh,
and
I like that.
And what it allows me is a really beautiful visualization when I'm meditating that I'm rooted in the ground like it. I'm a part of this world like its trunk. And then I am one with the ethereal world in the branches of my leaves. And I've used this. So like when you wrap those up, I was like, all right. So knee jerk was like, this wasn't the answer. And then I'm like, wait, this does resonate. So I like sometimes when there's resistance, like, but I've been journaling that I want to garden one day. And I've always loved flowers. So anyway, she said it was something with flowers, even specifically flowers, and said that there's something around me teaching that too. Right? That was a part of it.
Yep.
And then the other one, which I'll definitely have to look into, was she mentioned that I should be looking into teaching human design.
Yes.
Which is something we've never talked about on the show. And I don't know much about. I'm curious. Anyway, but then it gets juicy.
Then it gets much better. Not much better. Like that was good too. But now it's like, this is the crazy stuff. This is the validation.
This is the validation.
The validation comes up to even more.
Yes. So then she starts to like, her eyes do the thing where she's closed eyes, but she knows she's looking the matrix, like the universe, and whatever she's doing, she goes, there's something more here. Wait, there's something more. You're blocked. You are blocked. There's something that's blocking your full spirit, like your full, she's like, it's in your solar plexus. It's blocked. The light isn't coming fully through. It's like something's covering it. It's not.
So just to stop for a second, I think Jenny's probably mentioned this before, but I just want to like reiterate how many times Jenny being blocked is a huge, huge theme, but it's all like, it's a theme just as us as friends. She talks about it all the time, where even when we're like doing the podcast, trying to get spiritual, she feels like she's almost there, but something's like stopping her. Like there's a blockage. Like you've called it like a web. You've called it like a spell. We're like, you feel like you have a spell on you sometimes. Like there's something blocking you where like you're so close to like getting an epiphany or getting like connected and like something internal. And you always like, she has this hand motion where she like puts her like
her fist and then puts her other hand over it and like goes like almost like right between her boobs, but like right where your solar plexus are. Right. And you like always hold it. Like there's like a blockage. I can picture you doing it. And I'm always like, and you even said to me like, can you remove this from me? Can you like become something so you can like, so you can do like de-spell me? And I'm like, we're always like kind of like joking about it. But I'm like, let's try. Like, and half the time when you're going to these like people, you're always like, what can I do to like remove this?
I'm trying to remove it's like the web, the darkness. It's like something, I feel like I'm supposed to shine brighter. I have more gifts.
And
she actually said in order, I don't remember exact words. They weren't what I'm saying right now, but it was something like, almost like in pursuing this light work, you have to remove the blockage.
Well, she's saying like, yes, exactly. She's like, she could see a blockage in your solar plexus she's like, oh, you're blocked. She's like, and she asked you flat, do you feel blocked? She's like, do you feel a blockage? And you're like 100%. And they're like, and then she didn't even like say like more. She all of a sudden she went into like, I have to try to help you heal it. Yeah. Like, and so like they or whatever went into it. So go ahead. So this is where it got freaking amazing.
Then this was wild. So she's scanning. Yeah. She goes, this isn't from this lifetime. We're going to have to go to different lifetimes. Well, hello guys. Ding, ding, ding. I just won the lottery. You're talking about past lives. I'm winning. Yeah. This reading is wonderful. Yeah. But anyway, so she goes through past lives. She's like, oh goodness. So many really,
like
really trauma lives you've lived through. So many. And then she said, you're not healed just yet. And what's crazy about that is one of our offline conversations this weekend was I kept talking about how I had stepped in through my victim role last year, and literally on the show, if you guys heard, me talk about it, I really had felt like I walked through it entirely. And we were just talking about that, and it was literally like Ommara was listening and they're like, no, you're not through it all the way yet.
There's more, yeah.
There's more. And I mean, you don't totally want to hear that, but it was like an answer. It was like the third person in a private convo.
Yeah.
Queuing in a day later than when we talked about it. She said, you're not through it. And she said, we need to go to past lives to heal it. And she went through, she's like, there's so many. And then she's like, let's go to the root one. And then what were her words about the one that she couldn't even pull up?
I don't know her exact words, but essentially it was to the message of like, oh, this is too much for right now. Like
this life is too traumatic.
Like it's too like about. Yeah, like we can't like this one's too much. Like it's almost like you weren't ready, the group wasn't ready, she didn't have enough time. Like there was like, she's like, oh, this one's too traumatic. I gotta go. And she said I have to go closer. And she did say, I don't remember this. She's like, oh, this one was too traumatic. And then she mentioned something about like, oh, this one is something where you're leading your people and something like, do you remember that?
Yes.
Like something like bad had happened. And if you remember, and you had a past life regression years ago, again, before we started the podcast, where the past life, you felt like you were like an ancient like leader, like a spiritual healer.
Yes. And I was like,
you had people. And I don't know if that's the same life, but you've definitely had themes of like leading people in some of your past lives. Yes. And so when she said that, like, again, I don't know if that was the most traumatic one or if that was just another one she saw, but I thought that I'm like, oh my God. I'm like ding, ding, ding. No. Validate. This lady's real. Ding, ding. We got a real deal right now. I'm in. I'm buying in.
At some point we like started holding hands. Yeah. Like, cause it was one thing after another. I think I was so in the moment in a beautiful way. I don't have all the words to share because maybe it was meant to be left in that moment, to be honest. But she did say she found a life for us to work on. And she goes, 13. Yep. I was a 13-year-old out in the woods, and this is like a long ago life.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Another like theme that we've been getting a lot with you over the past, like, because we have been doing a lot of spiritual stuff to get back in for the podcast, was inner child. Yeah. And the fact that like going to child like stuff, like, and how you've been wounded as a child and your inner child. And so the fact that she went to a life where you were 13, when she did that, I was like, oh my God, it's like this is all child stuff that you're trying to work on. So I thought that, I hadn't told you that yet, but that was like that was like an aha moment when she like went to some reason for like a child trauma.
Well, and also yesterday with our other thing, they were stuck on healing me at 12.
Yeah.
Which is only a year off.
Yeah.
So that's crazy too. But they basically said, she said in this lifetime, I was a sweet girl and was abducted by a man and did bad things to me, and mentioned what it felt like she could see his fingers on my arms where they left marks, and I never was returned to my family. And that's how I met met my death, I'm assuming, in that lifetime, never to be returned to the parents.
Well, yeah, and it was weird. She said that basically that you were running or going out for a walk and you were grabbed and like you were like abducted there. And then she had you like, she had not only you picture it, but weird. She asked the collective like sisters, which I'm thinking was them, but I also felt like she was talking to us in the group because I totally took it as like we all have to do this.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, and so she asked us all to like picture this experience, and she's like, look into the eyes of this perpetrator and like look at him dead in his eyes and like send him love. And you probably know when you were probably picturing it. You can probably tell the story better than I can because it's your thing. So I won't jump into this point.
But what was cool about each of every person's reading was so different. There was no formula. And that was one of the things that was different about this one. We didn't come together to do this, but this person was so evil. She needed the energy of the group. She's like, we're going to heal at least this lifetime. I think she was saying. And she just kept like, do you see his face? Do you see his face? And I saw a face, and like you asked me, what does he look like? It was like thick. I remember thick, dirty fingers, and that's what I was seeing. And interesting or not, but when I hear about like a perpetrator or someone hurting me or violating me, as they were saying, like, everyone imagine his face. And they're like trying to even get you guys to imagine the face and sending like light into his eyes and love, because this is a really evil, evil person who did massive wrong. And the face would flip to the boy who raped me, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth during that moment that we were doing it. And I was like, and then you said something creepy afterwards.
I know. I said, I wonder if that like guy or that soul is like keeps following you in your lives. Like, if, like, he's part, like, not even, like, a soul contract, but if he's somebody that is, like, connected to you in lifetime. And, like, maybe, maybe you have to cut the cord with that, like, soul completely. And maybe, again, by looking in his eyes and shining, like, love and light into him, like, healing him so he can stop hurting. And then that would, like, cure the trauma.
Whoa, mama.
Right?
That's like, amazing.
Doesn't that, like, feel like that makes sense?
That
like,
makes so much sense.
It was more in that, which was weird, in that situation. It was about you, but it was more about him. Like, she was, like, send light. She's, like, heal his shadow. Like, it was like love. It was like sending forgiveness. It was like looking him directly in the eye and letting him see like unconditional love, because he was so filled with darkness and hate. We had to like overcome it, and we had to have all of them overcome it. And like, and she was saying to you, like, as we're doing this, like, you feel like the pressure of his hands releasing, like you feel him putting you back on the ground, like and then you dissipated the energy, the negative energy of him taking you back into the earth. So instead of like all of that negative, like, she told you to like envision it going back to the earth, for the earth to like dissipate that and like transmute it. Exactly.
And then one of the things I did like too, to seal that life, she's like, imagine being reunited with your parents in this one.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
And your family.
I was so into like, I was so picturing that guy and like freaking.
But I thought that was like the most warm thing too. And I mean, just, you know, as a side note, obviously there's been male stuff in my life. My parents would like vouch for this. I was afraid of men's. Like, I was very afraid of men growing up, like very, very afraid of men. So I mean, it checks out. And what we said, you know, like, obviously that's a horrible, deep death, but, you know, we love uncovering this stuff. So one of Chris's first things is, we uncovered a new one, like, as in a new life for us to talk about.
I couldn't believe it. But it's all thematic.
It is.
Well, yeah, and if we're going like full bore here and being like wicked ridiculous, as we've been getting like super, super into it, if we've been going like unicorn status, which we'll explain someday, but I said to Jenny, one of my like big fears of like, in like probably like of my life, and Jenny's known this again before we even when we first met, it's one of my
nothing to
do with anything. I am a like crazy like fear of abduction. Like, it's my biggest fear. Like, when people are scared of drowning, I even say like my husband's scared of someone drowning. I'm like, oh, I'm scared of abduction. Abduction is one of my biggest fears, like, in life, for myself, for my children. Like, definitely like unnecessarily, like not unnecessarily, I think I'm very worried about it for a reason, but like it's a thing for me as forever.
More than usual. Totally. And a little outside the norm.
Right. Exactly. A little excessive for sure. But I was thinking again, like with Jenny and I do think like we are meant to know each other. I'm sure we've been in some lives together, in what relationship, who knows? And I'm wondering if I was like present during that, which is why I'm so afraid. If you were my best friend there, if you were like my sister, like who knows if there was an abduction, and I'm so afraid of abduction, like, and what it can do to a family and how scary that is. Right. So it was like, it resonated with me too.
It did. And like, that's it. We're on this journey. And so like, I don't think there's ever a thought that's too weird. Because, like, if it popped in our head, where does it come from? We always have to talk about it. And that resonated with me. I'm like, of course. You were one of the family members that suddenly someone you love disappeared.
Right.
You can, and there's a constant fear that someone could be taken, snatched. She used the word snatched.
Snatched, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
this person was, like, snatched out of their life and never returned to it. But yeah, that was wild. So then she had me breathe into my solar plexus, and she basically kind of left me hanging with, like, there's more healing to do.
Yeah,
here.
And she's like, that was a start. Like, that was a start. She's like, that's a start to, like, warm that area and, like, start, like warming the darkness and, like, breathing, like, light into it.
Yeah.
But it was such, like, a wow.
It hit, like, 5 themes, and it was...
And it falls in line with all the stuff we hear. Like, when things, like, continue to, like, permeate, it was, like, even in a different way, but the same messaging, I thought it was...
Well, you want to know what you can't manipulate? Like, we actually talked about how when we come into the season, we're like, enough. We were victims. We've told you all our story. We're like, we're not going to harp on the same old stories, but the universe has different plans. Really? Because we were like, let's be more fun. Let's stop talking about this. But, like, that, I guess the real deal is that's why we're here. We are supposed to talk about it. I can't pretend that I did an episode and told the world a very horrible story, and I'm done now.
Right.
Like, so
like, now I'm better.
Yeah, now I'm better. All right. Okay. So yeah. So what's wild is, like, everything we just told you happened in 11 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, so that was, like, amazing. I had kind of 2 specific things to research or get into, and one of them super resonated. The other I'm curious about, and then hit themes we've gotten so many times and uncovered a new past life. I will be left with the nugget though of there was one so traumatic she couldn't go there now.
Yes,
and that kind of is haunting me. I'm not going to lie.
Of course.
And to that veil that I've always felt that there's something that's the blockage. I'm going to walk through it. I'm going to find in my lifetime. I'm finding the practitioner that leads me to that one, because we're going to hit it head on. I hope I reveal it someday. Anyway, on from my darkness, and then lightness.
I think it was,
and then you were sitting right next to me. So you got to go next.
Yeah. So don't get too excited, people.
Wait. I have to say it. You had to stick with her, because at first, and please kind of share how you were feeling at the moment.
Oh,
hers is one of those that you realize over time was exactly what she needed, but it wasn't as fun as what she wanted to hear.
No.
So you
I follow Jenny's, like, reincarnation and past lives and, like, these aha moments. And honestly, I feel like I do this, and it doesn't matter how much I want to, like, feel like whatever is meant to be is meant to be. I always second guess my question, and I always am like, shoot, I wish I had asked this. I wish I had asked that. And of course, even now after this, I think the session was amazing, and I got some great information from a share. I still am like, I wish I had asked about soul contracts, which I didn't even know you could ask about. So, like, there's a million things that, like, I want to, like, prepare people. When you guys do these things, like, I guess you just, what's meant to be is meant to be, and I'm going to say that even though I barely take my own advice. But, like, it's hard because when it was my turn, I was, like, coming off of Jenny's, like, again, insane, like, story, and I didn't know what direction to take it in, because it seemed so fast. I had a woman asking to speak to her mother, like, who had passed, and I had Jenny who had, like, talking about, like, what to do next in her life, but had gone to a past life, and so I was kind of like, hey, I don't really know. What my intention was to find out what message is most meant for me to know. And I didn't say that, but I did say, but part of me thinks that's what I got anyway.
Yes.
Because I was going to go broad and be like, hey, what message do I need to know? And then I didn't, but that's what I was thinking. And one of the things the lady did say before she went in, or maybe it was after, but about the collective is, like, sometimes it's not only the words that you get, but the feeling that you get, like the vibe. Cool. And so, like, part of me was thinking, like, even though I didn't ask that exact question of what message do I need, I might have gotten that exact answer.
I agree.
Because my question ended up being, I don't even know exactly how I phrased it, but I basically phrased it like, I have a lot going on in my life, like with work, kids, I'm feeling like a little stuck. Like, what's my career path? What's my journey? What should I do for, like, a soul journey? I've been feeling, like, overly anxious lately, and I want to, like, curb that and know I'm on the right path. There's kind of, and, like, basically that was a question, however I phrased it. And she kind of, like, all of a sudden, she went into, like, her, like, thinking, and then she's like, the energy field, like, there's an energy field around your house that's, like, making you anxious. And I was like, what? And she's like, there's, like, energy. She's like, I feel like this, like, frequency, there's energy around your house. And I was like, I don't know. She's like, does that make sense? I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, I don't know what you mean. And at first I started thinking, like, am I on, like a tribal, like, am I, was it like a burial ground? Like, what are you talking about, lady? But it wasn't that. And, like, I was like, no.
She said it's tech?
No, that's exactly what it is. She's like, no, I'm sensing, like, something with, like, technology, like a modem. Like, I'm sensing, like, frequency be in the air. And it's like messing with your vibration. Like you're never able to like relax. Like you're always stimulated by a vibration permeating the house. And it didn't even come to me right away, but upon reflection, like I completely got it. Like we have like Alexas in every one of my rooms. Like the kids listen to music on it. And like we also have this insane internet system, because my brother used to be like an engineer and like input like network grade modems in our house for fast internet service. So we have the most ridiculous like internet setup and technology in every room. And my mom has always said, she's like, this is awful. You shouldn't have Alexas in the room for the kids. It's not good. Like and not even like from a frequency perspective, but she's just like, you don't know what's out there in like the energy. And I'm always like brush off. We have cameras in every room. Right. You know, like we have like a lot of like technology. And so she was basically like, that is making you anxious. Like she's like, you can't have that. She's like, your body can never settle because of the radio frequencies. And I was like, oh my God, this is not past life. This is like, this is so lame. But I'm like, okay. And then she went and proceeded to say that like, I basically drink too much coffee, which is 100% true. Mm-hmm. And they were like, you drink coffee, but you're drinking it not for enjoyment or for like the taste to like quench like a desire. You're doing it as like an intake. And I do. Yeah. I drink a ton of coffee, and I've never thought it impacted me because I can still go to sleep on it. I don't sleep bad.
You've
like
told me that
right,
before.
and like I can just drink coffee. But like, but the way she said it, she's like, you're drinking it in the wrong way, and you're just like pumping your body full of a stimulant. Yeah, it's a stimulant. So like, I was like, okay, that's like, again, fair, very accurate. And like, again, so different than what she said to like you. Right. So I was like, that's cool. And then she basically recommended a drink, like a tonic or something, like basically an herb that would help me ground. I can't remember. Oat something, oat grass or something. I don't know. But like, she's like, steep this. It was a little bit like, I don't love getting advice that seems like undoable. Like I can't really picture myself like steeping herbs. Like I don't love stuff like that. But I'm like, hey, maybe if it's really going to help me and I'm getting this from a collective, maybe I should figure out a way to do it. Like, why not? So I'm going to look into it. But again, I wasn't like, oh, this is so exciting. I was like, are you kidding me? So
I will say this, there was, I don't know if you remember this, there was a rounded bow tied around that part, and it was this first. It was like, she even did like hands of like, calm down. Like, so these two things to then build what you're asking me. And so it felt so random. I mean, I even sat next to her being like, oh shit, Chris is going to be so upset with this. And I actually didn't even know the thing about the Alexa. I know you guys are techos in your house. You're the techiest tech people I know, but I did not think of that. And I also didn't know about your Alexas. So I loved hearing that later. But at the time I'm like, oh God, she's going to be so mad. But then it made sense. And then she really said like, this first, fix your foundation. Yeah. And she like, the way that even her hands went made sense. So then
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you. She did. There was like a closure to it, and there was like it was so tactical, and I love action steps.
You do.
So I was like, if I could do that. And she even said like, turn off the internet at certain times. Like the sun goes down and comes up at the exact same, like at the same time each day. Like you can't randomly do it here and randomly do it there. She's like, do it consistently at the same time, and give your body an hour in the morning, an hour at night where the internet is turned off. She's like, it will make a world of difference. I'm like, that is doable. I appreciate that. And so it was cool. And then one of the things that like I had said coming into this weekend, which I loved, and again, with my just anxiousness and in general, I'm always trying to like trust the universe and be like, trust the universe. I gotta trust the process, gotta trust the universe, gotta like, just like trust and give myself up to it. And like, I say it all the time. So as like a mantra to try to believe it, but it's easier said than done.
And you're also not connecting to the words you've chosen.
Right. Well, it's hard. And it's hard to actually feel like you're supported and trusted. And she said to me, she's like, every morning when you wake up, like say to yourself, the goddess has my back. And it was like, and like, just trust. And she basically was like, trust that the goddess has your back. And I was like, I've never like, it was just such a resounding like message and such a mantra that I can say and like be reminded. And I feel like she was telling me like, she does. Like she has your back. So remember that every morning when you wake up. And then one of the other things, like the last thing she said into my career was, she was like, oh, she's like, you've had this like career for a while. She's like, you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time. And I was like, yeah. She's like, I just want to like say, she's like, be bold.
She's like, it's getting old.
And like basically what she said like was that, you know, like you've been doing this a long time. Like don't be afraid to be bold. You know? And so it was like, again, I felt like it was around like continue with the podcast, continue doing, but don't be afraid to like, don't feel stuck in anything, because you can be bold. And I feel like if I was to follow through on the tangible things she had shared,
that's it.
Then I would be.
Well, that's what it is. It's so funny. It kind of is what seemingly two disparate things, and they felt so related by the end. It was like, I almost even got that you wouldn't even know the path that you need until you clear the air figuratively
Agreed.
and
I agree with you. That's exactly what I felt too. I felt like it was like
and so it really was cohesive at the end and bigger and more prophetic than what
I agree. That's
presented.
And I felt super supported, and I felt like there was little things that would make me be able to access the answer to my question. It ended up being fantastic. So that was ours. I think one of the things I just wanted to share, which I thought was cool from some of the other people's, just two things that I got, which I thought was interesting, and why I mentioned, like, I wish I'd known about soul contracts, is the woman that went next was asking about her career, and she felt stuck in her career, and she probably got the same info from, like, you kind of like build off of people's questions. Yeah. And so the collective basically brought up to this woman that she had a soul contract in this life that she could like fix a karmic debt. Mm-hmm. And so she had the opportunity by like, she's currently like working in like a setting where she's like clerical, you know, and she was saying that you can go work with children and help like be in joy and glee and help children. And while you're helping children, you're supporting women who need the help, like mothers who that need this help. Marginalized. Yeah, because she had been in a position in one of her lives where she had marginalized women, where she had oppressed women and brought them. And this is like this woman had the best aura. She was also like pregnant, and like you could feel like the loving energy of the baby. Like there was so much love around her. So to hear that she had a past life where she marginalized women, she kept them down and she oppressed them, and that she has a karmic like ability this life to fix it. And you could tell like she said it resonated with her. Yeah. That's where I got the idea to ask for a soul contract, because if I'd ever gone back, I would love to know if I have karmic debt that I could fix.
I know.
You know? Yes. So I was like, oh man, if this collective can capture that info, I'm in.
Yeah. And then I think, you know, one of the things that I wonder what your take on it is, what I waver on this one was funny because she said something about respecting the privacy of the people. So I don't want to like share too much, even though we never say who they were or anything. But one of the other synchronicities, I'll amend my word, for her was that she had mentioned, the woman had also said that, you know, she kept going on and on. You need to work with the children on what the medical condition, you should be doing it. And it ultimately, when we came back to review at the end, she wanted to work with neurodivergent children. And that hit close to home because I'm personally looking for support in that, and it's not something in the world. So I went ahead and shared, like, please do that. I need that. That's needed in the world. And I could tell it deeply resonated with her. So it was one of those cool moments too, where it didn't seem a mistake that any one person was in there. I also felt like the other woman across from us, like we were connecting with a lot. The one with them, and the last person was a health thing, and this was awesome.
This was unbelievable.
This one was awesome, and you probably are a better teller of this story, so you can interject when you want to. But she clearly has been working with a diagnosis that's ruined her life. And she seems very early in her interest on the wellness journey, where she ultimately came out she hadn't been trusting her intuition, but Ommara and the entity, whatever our guidance was she was getting, knew that. And they actually said, if you continue on this path, and she actually made her hand movements of the matrix.
Yes.
And the collective repeatedly said, we cannot predict the future, but it's one of multiple outcomes.
Yep, she did say that. That was very,
and it wasn't like a cop-out, like you could think it sounded like. No. It was because there were multiple possible outcomes.
Because you live in choice. Because the choices you make, and that's what it was. It was all about the fact that, like, the choices you make, that you have free will, and you have choices. And, like, there's, like, and she said to her, she's like, there's the matrix right now with what you're currently doing, like, you won't get better. Like, it's like you'll stay stagnant in your diagnosis. Medicine. And she's, like, she did a slight movement with her hand. She's like making very small changes, can switch the matrix to an outcome that looks like
the highest probability of health.
The highest, yes.
And that blew our minds. You and I met eyes and we're like, whoa, mind blown, amazing. And she's crying. You could tell everything that they go deeply into this without us following along. And everything she said it resonated. You could see, but then one of the coolest things I thought, again, we like actionable stuff. They actually said an exact name of a doctor she needed to reach out to, which was going to be the person to help fix her. Yep. Like an exact name.
They said, this is a person, this is a doctor, this is like a homeopath, this is somebody that could help you. Like, you need to keep being like communication, spell the last name. Like, this is another validation for me. The diagnosis she had gotten, I'd never heard of. So I mean, it wasn't like some common.
It was a very. I don't even remember.
I don't remember either. And like, but it was something I'd never heard of, and it was not a common thing that you would like. Everyone knows that I have like a whatever the case may be. I have celiac disease. Like I've heard of that. Like it was something I'd never heard of, and they instantly like the collective knew exactly what it was, alluded to it, and like the likelihood that it could have been that woman pretending and knowing what it was.
Oh,
I think it's impossible.
She knew all the symptoms.
Like she knew the symptoms. She knew the doctor that could help, like a doctor that could like a homeopathic doctor that could help prescribe it. Again, it would be almost impossible to have known the differences in each of us, the 5 people there, gone down the direction she had. Like it was like there's no coincidences, and that's again why I felt like it was so accurate and real.
It was so weird. The other thing too, like when someone has a shtick, you'd think they'd stick with the shtick.
Well, that's,
it was so catered to each person. There's something else that our words can't capture, and everyone, we talked about it when it was over. When they left the building, she comes back in and she was like cute and almost giggly and like touched and hugged herself like, "Hi, I'm back." And we talked about it, and everyone agreed that there was an energy in the room we all felt.
1,000,000%.
It was like so strong.
It was yeah. And then she looked different when she came back. She looked different. She looked like the woman she was when she first started. She looked like the lady who had come to teach the class. She didn't look like Ommara.
No.
Ommara had a different look, a different and it was her voice is different. And it was just a completely different shift. And again, going back to that time that we did do the channeling that I forgot about, that was not the case. The woman didn't look different. No. There was catchy phrases. It was generic when we compared ours.
Yes, that was one of the biggest. It was
like some of the two things. She was like sales pitching you and yours. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there are things that I feel like we've been able to uncover when we buy into people, and you and I have a high bar. Like we have a very high bar. So like,
try if you want to.
Yeah, we're always like on the verge of being a skeptic and like trying to poke holes in what you're doing. And I will say that like this was so interesting and so cool. And what it really made me do is like I've never been thought of like a collective. Like I've never thought like there's like these energies that have like combined, and like these souls that have combined to like help lead the planet, and that people have access to them, and like they're there as like larger guides. Like we talk about archangels, we talk about like spirit guides, we talk about like spirit animals. I never think about this.
No, this isn't on the hit list of things that we've been drawn to. I am now.
Me too.
Well, I will. This relates to. Have I ever brought up Abraham Hicks?
No, you haven't. We've talked about it, but
minute before we went in, I think. But Abraham Hicks is a collective that speaks through Esther Hicks. And if you are interested in the subject, this is a really cool one. If you want to experience it, look into Abraham Hicks. And Esther Hicks has gone through the world, but this has been forever. And she's channeling really beautiful energy. And she speaks a lot to manifestation and that sort of thing. And I love that subject. So like I've been listening to this for a long time. What's really funny, even despite all this, I still didn't understand channeling.
Yeah.
That was channeling. So I guess channeling, does it have to be the harnessing of an entity? We never actually got the answer to that, did we?
Maybe there's obviously different types of channeling. So this was specific to a collective. I guess she channeled a collective that she has access to. And I asked her like how she was able to get this collective, like how she did it. And she said that she prayed every day for 7 years.
For this to happen.
And she said like, she didn't clarify this. So I'm not sure if she wanted to be able to be channeled through or if she just had like a need or desire. But she's like, when the energy is perfectly right, and like, it's like, and she's like, and it's meant to like be where you're like compatible, she said. She's like, it's ability to happen. But it took her like years of wanting to have it happen. And then she's been doing it for so many years. It's still getting stronger, which is also interesting. It's
evolving. Yeah. She said it like went from whatever belt to the black belt. And she said it'll progress, right? That was just wildly fascinating. A really fun kernel of seed of excitement to plant with you is we talked to her afterwards, and there's actually a couple people we are here that we think are about the most special people we've met, and she's included in them, have agreed to come on our show.
Yay!
And as you know, we're not like interviewers. That's not our format. We like to talk to experience, but the wealth of knowledge, and I mean, how many questions do you guys have right now? Like I have so many.
Millions.
We even have them at her specifically, but then what would we ask Ommara if just you and I sat with Ommara? And so we did get the information, and I think we're going to circle back, and instead of meeting here, we'll have a deeper experience, and we're going to do it. So we'll circle back to this again, but my goodness, what a wild ride. This was awesome. on the scale of
Oh my
things,
God.
we're calling this up at the tippity top.
And we're jacked all like
our energy
like,
is
our
a
energy
wackadoo.
isn't like, and like
We have
how
to go-
I know it feels like 100 degrees in this car because we have like no air like on it, but at the same time my temperature has been fluctuating since like there is definitely like an energy still. It's a little unsettling, but I think we went to such a high vibration and then we came back into like the regular world, and it's like it's something is all I've got to say. So wow, excited to share when she comes on, but I hope you guys if you ever get a chance to try channeling, go.
Like the show? We'd love your support. Right now, we're doing an awesome giveaway. Leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Screenshot the review and send it to hello@soguided.com or DM us on Instagram at SoGuidedPodcast. You'll be entered to win a basket of our favorite woo-woo goodies, crystals, cacao, and all the high vibe goodies we love. Thank you for listening. We've loved being your spiritual travel guides and hope this made you feel more connected. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. Your reviews help us create the guide that you are looking for. We'd also love to hear your stories.
You could follow and share your experiences with us on Instagram at So Guided Podcast. Your story might just be our next weekly woo-woo. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the universe. And remember, stay curious, ask the questions. You are so guided.